Good evening everyone out there in YouTube land. My name is Jared and this is my channel Mazda B3K. This is going to be a departure from the usual automotive fare. This will be the swapping of a control board in my A.O. Smith hybrid hot water heater. Without further ado, let's get started. So this is an A.O. Smith Signature 900 hybrid hot water heater. So it has a heat pump on top. It has traditional heating elements inside the tank. And what's going on right now, I currently have the unit off, but the heat pump runs for a couple minutes and then it turns off and it throws a code 084, which is that when you have the app and you're looking at it, it just says compressor error. So it means heat pump not happy. I got on the horn with A.O. Smith support and they gave me a new control board with daughter board attached. They said swap it out, see what happens. If that doesn't work, they're going to warranty the whole unit, but that's going to be a whole separate thing. So I have gotten the control board here. Let me get these out of the way. So the control board literally is the part that you can touch and manipulate, and it has a daughter board right here. It's kind of built in. It's not really meant to be a separate piece. So that's the information for the daughter board. It's not the information for the main board. I couldn't find a part number for that. A.O. Smith does not have much documentation, but more specifically, if you have a HPS 1050H45 DV200, this will work for you. If you don't have that, it may or may not work. I suggest you call A.O. Smith and ask. So surprisingly, I did get some documentation on how to do this, and it should be pretty straightforward. Step 1, cut the power. Make sure you got the power off, because this unit takes 220 volts. It has a maximum circuit capacity of 220 volts and at 30 amps, which is quite a bit of buzz. So we make sure we're off. We are off. I have cut it off. I have a smart panel over here that lets me remotely turn circuits on and off. So anyway, once you do that, see this Phillips screw, take it out, and then you're supposed to lift the whole assembly up and then pull it out. And as you're pulling it out, be mindful, because you see all these connectors back here? There's probably ribbon cables that they're attached to, and we're going to need to remove those carefully without damaging the cables. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, screws out. So as I said, you lift up, and that's it. It is really that simple. And then if you look over here, these are all those connectors we need to carefully remove. This is my very first time looking at this, so I'm learning with you. And I got to put this phone down so that I can actually work on these connectors. But you got a decent amount of slop, but not a crazy amount. Oh, there's the run capacitor. Cool. So if I ever need to service that, it's right there. Very nice. Let me put the phone down and I'll work on getting these out. Okay, so corrections. That's the daughter board. So this is maybe a second board that's attached to the main control board. So in that case, this is probably a valid part number for it. So you're looking at 2000598310, and then you've got a firmware part number right there. The FCC is because this is where your Wi-Fi is for it to chit-chat. I guess I'm gonna have to reconnect all that. Yeah, so this is the old, this is the new. The bulk of these connectors, as you can see, they've got a locking tab at the top, so you just squeeze, pull the connector loose. These two I just kind of wiggled out. That one does have a really tiny locking tab that you got to grab just so and pop it out. But very cool stuff. As I mentioned, if you don't know about heat pumps, there's a surge load that comes in to get them started, like your house air conditioner, and there's generally a large capacitor to handle that. That's what that is. Don't play with it unless this has been off for a while. That's going to be holding some charge. And here's our daughter board. It looks like if we ever needed to service that, we got a couple of screws in the corners. So we'd have to disconnect some stuff, get those screws, and then we could also remove the daughter board. And looks like we have some relays on our daughter board, some good Chinesium relays, so makes me wonder if that's the problem. I don't know enough about electrical things to test that and come up with something, unless it's automotive. Anyway, now we're just going to grab the new one, reconnect everything, stick it back in, screw it back in, and let it run through its diagnostic and see what it does. One thing to note when you're sliding this back in, before you push it all the way flush, make sure you don't have any wires sticking out so you don't pinch them. This is for the LED display, I believe. It might be for a clock. That's normally what you see that for. So we're back in. The connectors are all keyed, I noticed. They have plastic tabs that specifically align where they need to go, so you can't put it in backwards. And they're all different lengths, so you can't mix up connectors. It's actually pretty nice. So get it all back together, slide it in, and I'll bring you back when I power it up and it starts its diagnostic. Okay, so just turned it back on. The heater is going to take up to about 8 minutes to run through basically a boot sequence, a bunch of self-checks and diagnostics to make sure everything is good. Wi-Fi is probably going to be blinking because I'm going to have to get it back on the network since this is a brand new board and all that good stuff, unless the daughter board is holding the settings, which I don't know how they did it. The key here is the tank should be under its target of 120, so by default it should go into hybrid mode and it should just run the heat pump until we hit target, and if it poops out and throws a 084 error code, then that means the issue was not the control board, it's something else, and I'm probably getting a new heater. So I'll bring you guys back once we're at the end of the self-diagnostic. Alright, we finished booting, so the target's 120, and right now the heat pump's running, so that's intake, and this thing that looks like a still is my exhaust. I have it ducted coming out up here. As we can see, we've got flow, so far it's running. We'll see if it will complete a full cycle without throwing a code. If it does, then great. And if not, you guys have still learned how to swap the control board in your A.O. Smith hybrid hot water heater. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this. I guess it was a 5-minute fix video on how to swap the control board on your A.O. Smith Signature 900 series hybrid hot water heater. So if this was interesting, if this was educational, if this was entertaining, please consider like, sharing, and subscribing. That does help grow the channel. And also leave a comment. I like to read them, I like to reply to them, and I like to learn from them. And remember guys, I make mistakes so you don't have to. I'll catch you guys next episode.